So let's start off with you, Alexandra. What sort of roles are you filling at the leadership level for AI and data science?
So there's a variety of new titles. I mean, that's a very fancy one. And I mean, but however, the roles that our clients look for in priority includes, I mean, the one I see the most on my hand is like the chief data analytics, the chief data scientist, the head of machine learning or artificial intelligence. So then it's obviously going to vary from one company to the other. So it's a little bit like the general secretary role where you put various things in it. But so you really need to define exactly what's in each title that I just named, just to name a few. But I think the company tends to really try to add more and more skills to each role, not only the technical skills, but also the leadership skills that, I mean, we'll talk about it later, I guess, and the interpersonal skills. And that's not an easy task, but in terms of titles, you find, I mean, a variety of titles. So it's
understand. And Julia, are you also seeing those same titles in roles that you're filling?
Yeah, I think Alexandra characterized it really well. You know, that point around communication is essential. And if I go back to my simple definition of AI, where it's just math plus big data plus compute power, I mean, every organization I talk to is looking for someone to break stuff down into really simple terms that anyone, you know, super math genius, all the way through to like the guy, you know, I don't know, the guy who cleans the trash can understand. And that's important, right? Because you want to bring everybody on the journey. And so back to that conversation we were having about traditional businesses trying to make the change. The critical thing there is bringing everybody with you. And that is all about communication. The data science, or frankly, any other initiative that you're trying to pull through is the what you're trying to get done. But the only way you're going to make that happen is if you can communicate in an effective way. So a lot of our clients started out, I mean, what did we do? We started out in this data world like 10 years ago. And at the time, there wasn't the availability of these very deep data science skills that are now emerging, because at the more junior levels, we are seeing universities and master's degree programs associated with, you know, I'll be nice and call it AI. And there are some universities that do have AI programs and actually have for a long time, but there are others that are developing, you know, business analytics degree courses, for example, we have here in Europe from Imperial College is one of the great ones. And AI is, for example, the University of Edinburgh. And I know the UK ones quite well, but there are others like it all across Europe and in the US too. So at the grassroots level, we're starting to see more of this data literate, analytical talent that kind of slots straight into chief data scientist type roles like Alexandra mentioned. But the general manager kind of data leader role, people at that level of seniority in an organization, when they graduated university, or maybe some of them didn't, you know, these degrees didn't exist. So they were like head of operational research, or maybe they have a PhD in statistics, or maybe they come out of a computer science background and so have been doing engineering. And some of them don't have any of that. They're just great at asking smart questions and bringing people along on a journey, and being able to do that in a way that that everybody can get behind on what can be sometimes like a somewhat complex or very highly emotive change within an organization, because oftentimes the decisions made using, you know, the data and the math and the compute power can be better, faster, cheaper than decisions made, you know, by leadership. I won't go into the ethical aspect, but, you know, the one we're seeing that I guess is maybe a more modern view is, or more recent perspective around data, is a kind of head of data product. And that's happening more and more. Digital natives, but also traditional businesses are looking for these people who can build, you know, Ryan, you referenced like the $200 billion, you know, industry for AI in itself. And for businesses that are data businesses, and you know, I don't want to like mention any specifically here, but would be happy to do so. You know, I don't want to support any that I shouldn't do or anything like that. But, you know, there are a number of data businesses out there. And those ones are really asking for product leaders who understand data, who can commercialize data. And that's where a lot of the excitement is too, right? If we go back to those points about experimenting with AI and being able to get value from it, some of it is about improving things that organizations already do. Some of the most exciting stuff is about building new products and services that organizations haven't yet started doing, but because they've got all this data, they absolutely can be building new capability from. You know, and that's an area I think that does bring together a nice mix of some traditional skills like project management, program management, but brings together things like UI and UX design. You know, it also brings in things like strategy. It's very important to have a strategic perspective, the communication aspect, and then understanding data and analytics. And tech can also be important there too. So computer science can also be an aspect. So these roles are so multidisciplinary. And I think one thing to be important, like to not worry about too much is this isn't like an experience box ticking type career path. Everybody brings a portfolio of skills, you know, and my advice is make sure you bring your portfolio of skills together in a way, in a story that makes sense based on what you've done. But also don't just rehash what you've done if you're not interested in doing those things. Like tell a story about what's interesting for the job that you want to do in the future. And if that's a data product job, great. But if that's more of a like deep chief data scientist job, then that's also super. You know, there isn't like one. What's interesting here is it's not a pyramid. Like the data product leaders don't sit at the bottom with the chief data and analytics officers sitting at the top. Like everything, there will be a hierarchy, but actually this is one career path where, you know, you might start out as a junior data product leader, but track to being a super senior data product leader, but funnily enough, that remains your title for almost all of your career. So there isn't naturally a clear progression from one to another.
I wanted to sort of relate it to that question with Ryan in terms of, you know, other sectors, because you know, Julia, you've laid out, you know, this is not necessarily a check the box kind of career path. You know, Ryan, are there other sectors that are an obvious fit and a place where you would look, you know, and so outside of AI, outside of data science in leadership roles?
So look, I think from an industry perspective, Alexandra touched on it earlier, you know, historically, a lot of this talent was found in financial services, just given the analytical nature of the work. And that I think that's rung true regardless of region as well. You know, in the US, you know, if I look at 10 years ago, probably 90% of the data and analytics search work we were doing was in financial services, recruiting from other financial services firms. Now, of course, technology is a very close second. Some would argue a first. Either way, I think the two are pretty equal. But if we look over at EMEA, maybe you'd say they're a little bit further ahead from a consumer retail media perspective. So, you know, I think regardless of what we've seen in the past, what we see moving forward are people moving between industries. So if you're a healthcare company, go find somebody in CPG, right? You know, if you're financial services, recruit somebody out of tech. So just that ability to move between industries is so valuable for talent.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for that. And sort of related question for you, Alexandra. Some of the unique, if you could give us your perspective on some of the unique talent trends that you see in this area. As an example, you know, are there different skills and competencies that are unique? And I think Julia touched on a few of these that, you know, it's pretty broad, you know, green fields, but what are you seeing in terms of trends and competencies?
Maybe we sometimes see the data and analytics leader not being given access to strategy development and the broader change management agenda. And today our clients realize how important this role is. And for that reason, they ask us to find candidates who are not only outstanding tech people, but also capable of setting up a vision and delivering on it. So I think it's, I mean, they pretty much, I mean, when you look at the candidate pool, I mean, most of them are like pretty good on the technical aspect. But that's what I said before. It's just in terms of leadership, how to work, I mean, on common projects with other, I mean, departments, how to lead the people, how to, I mean, really put a vision there, but more on the people aspect. I mean, to me, this is something that is a lot more important than it used to be, because this role is moving up the ladder in terms of seniority and where it stands within the organization. And that's a point that it's not always easy to find in the various candidates we approached. And it's not like you're natural born. I mean, that's something you need to learn usually, because so that's for me one of the aspects that I see in the talent and the skills we're looking for more and more.
Thank you for that. If there are, I just want to let you know, we do have questions that are going to be coming in the Q&A. We have one now, and I think it's pretty much on the same path, and I'd like to ask the question. So Julia or Manny, but the question is, can you expand on the SMART questions? Let me see. I think he's saying, as someone who managed an analytics team for years, but is not deeply analytically credentialed, what he has seen is that companies are interested in candidates first who are deeply data scientist credentialed, and then a leader second. Any thoughts on that?
It's interesting. So I'm currently doing a search in AI for two companies that are looking for the same type of talent. It hasn't happened to me a lot of times, but and what I'd say is, I'd agree. They are looking for technical skills first, leadership skills second, because the combination of both in this particular role is very difficult, or difficult in the sense of the person that's very technical tends to be very less outgoing than you would have in other roles. So that's what I've been seeing. That's what I'm experiencing right now, especially with these two companies where I'm doing these searches for.
Thank you, Manny. And Julia.
I think that's right. And I would say also, it depends, right? On that chief data scientist track that Alexandra, you kind of first alluded to, was the technical skills do matter. And actually they matter almost more than anything, because those people are what I'm going to call the super geniuses, who are bringing together the data, and they're bringing together the compute power. They're the ones who are building the algorithms. They're thinking about all the different data types to bring together to solve a particular problem, build a particular product, or whatever it might be. And there, the technical skills almost are more important, because that person is probably part of a broader team. And the broader team does things like helping with the strategy and of the communication aspects. And perhaps, if what you have done is spend a lot of time managing a team and you feel uncomfortable with the fact that you don't have the data science skill set, well, then what I would say is, there are a lot of great programs out there, and there are so many that don't require you to, leave your full-time job. And maybe all it is for someone like you and others like that is a bit of a confidence booster. You feel a little bit out of the water, feel like you don't know the terms, but go take the course, and it'd only be a year, side of desk work. And you might find actually, so much more than you think you know. Sometimes people just need a little bit of a confidence boost. The other thing I would say is it's really hard to manage technical people when you're not as deeply technical as they are. But remember, you might be better at the communication aspect, or the strategy aspect, or the program management aspect. So people need to work together as a team. So just make sure everybody knows that they have unique skills and you have unique skills, and that together you guys do great things. Nobody is expecting someone to be everything all in one role. And I think we see that so much more in this kind of career track than in others that we work on.
Thank you. And just related to that, Ryan, do you see executives transitioning from other STEM fields into data science? And if so, what are the challenges of that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, you definitely see, especially individuals who have, let's say, 15 to 20 plus years of experience. Naturally, they're going to come from some of your more classic STEM programs, right? Having a background in math or mechanical engineering or chemistry, maybe computer science, and then picked up some of the data and analytics components along the way, whereas today you have dedicated programs focused specifically on data science or applied business analytics or machine learning or artificial intelligence. And so, a little bit of this is, I won't call it a generational divide, but there's this transition over time where you have some of those STEM-related programs by background, and now you have the more focused programs that contribute to data and analytics capabilities within organizations.